What are my top 5 chemistry related books that I've read in 2025? Let's get straight into it. Number 5, On-Screen Chemistry by John O'Donoghue. This is a fantastic book exploring how chemistry has been portrayed in film and TV since the early days of cinema. Massive hats off to the author because the level of research is incredible. At times, it can feel slightly encyclopedic rather than kind of narrative driven, but that isn't a criticism. The sheer volume of films and shows covered is staggering across a whole wide range of genres. I'd say it's more a book about films and TV that feature chemistry rather than a deep dive into chemistry itself. In that sense, it's probably more aimed at film and TV enthusiasts with an interest in science rather than chemists who enjoy the occasional movie. That said, there are still some fantastic chemistry insights and facts sprinkled throughout, especially the discussion of early nitrocellulose-based film and the fire risks it posed, and the reason why many early films don't exist today. Interesting, informative, and a wonderful blend of two very different worlds. Number 4, Proof by Adam Kucharski. I've kind of broken my own rule a little bit here, because this, strictly speaking, isn't a chemistry book. However, it does cover research in science, and chemistry is occasionally mentioned with reference to medical trials. The reason I've included this, however, is because I think it's a must-read for anyone interested in science and the idea of scientific proof. The book is littered with fascinating stories and alarming tales that should make us all sit up and question the validity of claims sometimes made by researchers, or more frequently, the claims of others based on somebody else's research. What exactly do we mean by proof? The difference between induction, deduction, the power of falsification proof, role of confirmational bias, non-constructive proof, the list goes on. Now, these may sound really complicated terms, but the author does an amazing job of breaking these ideas down and presenting them in a meaningful and relatable way. It's eye-opening and it's important. I really would recommend it. Number 3. It's a Gas by Mark Miodownik. This falls delightfully into the popular science category that this author is known for, and it's another gem of his. Meandering through the world of gases, their history and role in our everyday lives, you are treated to curious tales and facts, and the pages simply tick by swiftly. It's an easy read and a pleasurable one. Who knew that Samuel Colt, the designer of the revolutionary Colt revolver, acquired his funds for its design and manufacture by producing nitrous oxide that he used in stage shows to a delighted audience? Or the surprising similarities between the air valve mechanisms developed for brass instruments and the kinds of valves later used when the early pneumatic tyres were developed by Dunlop. It's those kind of tales that make this simply drip with delight, so it's a lovely book and a proper Sunday afternoon treat. Number 2, The Secret Life of the Periodic Table by Dr. Ben Still. This is a newly updated edition released this year. The original actually came out in 2016, so you may have seen it around for some time, but it has had a few changes in its latest edition. Now, I have to say, I'm not usually a big fan of books about the periodic table. There are a few exceptions, but normally they become very processional and, a little bit like the on-screen chemistry book earlier, can end up being a bit encyclopedic, just lots of facts strung together in a fragmented way. Now, the on-screen chemistry book got away with it because it's a very interesting subject matter that hasn't been done before in a book. But there's loads of books about the periodic table out there, so you can sometimes read them thinking, this isn't giving me anything new. To a certain extent, there's no way of avoiding this. Periodic Tales by Hugh Aldersey Williams is perhaps the best exception to this, but that book is quite big and does go on a bit in places. I would still thoroughly recommend it, however. But back to this one. I think the author does an amazing job of whisking you around the periodic table, striking a beautiful balance between factual overload and keeping you interested. And I think this is perhaps where it sets itself apart from many of the other books about the periodic table. It doesn't feel too fact-heavy, and it does move through quite nicely. And I also have to say, his introduction to quantum science and the structure of the atom at the start of the book is possibly some of the finest educational science writing for a non-specialist audience I think you'll find. It isn't a big book, and you can get through it quite quickly, and it's full of interesting facts and brilliantly researched. And number 1, Nature's Amazing Chemistry by Michael Freemantle. Now, in my head, I always have an idea of what I want from a non-reference chemistry book. However, I can't often explain what it is. It's a bit like when you hear a piece of music that you love and you go, I've always been waiting for this piece of music, but I didn't know I wanted to hear it. This book is possibly the closest thing I've ever come across that matches what I want in my head for a book and what actually is in front of me or what I'm reading. It strikes a perfect balance between meaningful and proper chemistry without being too academic or reference-based, meaning you can still read it after a busy day at work. It's popular science writing for those who want more of the science and a bit less of the popular. It's a wondrous treat and delightfully eccentric. The author is a very experienced science writer, and this shows. He never leaves you behind, and in a refreshing, almost personal style of writing, you feel you are at times being treated to a preview into his very thoughts regarding the subject he is writing about, which is wonderful because it kind of mirrors that idea of scientific exploration and asking the question, why? The book has no real structure or overall narrative, and really its only purpose to exist is to be interesting. It's simply a collection of insights and interesting facts behind some chemistry in nature. Or, as the subtitle more aptly says, reflections on its complexity and diversity. I can't recommend this book highly enough, and because it's published by the Royal Society of Chemistry, you know it's going to be well researched and you know it's going to be put together properly. I hope you've enjoyed my rundown. There are lots more amazing books I've read this year. Maybe you've read some as well. Please drop some comments below and we can all share some ideas together. I hope you enjoy reading these if you get a chance, and thank you all very much for supporting the channel and website this year. I wish you all a very prosperous 2026.